Here we are with Secret Affair live at Skamouth. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
So how did you enjoy that?
Yeah, is this the third time we've been here now?
It might be the fourth.
It might be the fourth, yeah. So we always get treated well here. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the way you finished with My World. I mean, that has to be one of your best songs, doesn't it?
It's one of my favourites. Yeah, it's just got that kind of. It works well outdoors as well. It's got a festival-y feel to it. You know, kind of optimistic, upbeat feel. Yeah, it's one of our favourite songs.
I like the way you got the crowd all involved for it, and you made it longer, didn't you? And it was really good.
We've been doing that for quite a while now. Yeah.
Yeah, where a lot of that comes from is because we've been doing our shows now for, as I've just discovered, at least nearly 15 years. I thought it was 10.
2008.
How long ago is my maths isn't good. How long ago is 2008? That's
14 years.
That's when he and I got back together again. Yes. 15 years. My maths.
14, 15.
Yeah.
Was it a long break when you?
Yeah, it was a very long break. I had a proper job and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just and for a long time, Dave was working abroad in the States for Gibson guitars. So, and it kind of fell together. We were asked to do a one-off kind of thing, and it grew out of that really.
We were asked to play the Isle of Wight Scooter Rally in 2008. That's why I know that's when it started. We put together a band for, well, why not?
Yeah.
You know, and we went down there and they put us into the ice rink at the time on Ride, and the promoters came in and said, well, you just sold out at 2,500. We'd never had 2,500. I thought, oh my God, people still want to see us. At the same time, I said to Ian, we should have made up some t-shirts.
yeah. You would have done well.
We had no merchandise.
No.
Nothing, not even a badge. So then, in the very early days of websites and the internet, people would contact and say, are you back together? Well, not really. Do you want to come and play Moscow? And go, well, I get hold of Ian and go, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 2 nights in Tokyo, and then it's just gone on year in year out. And now we're with AGMP, who are probably the biggest independent promoters in this country, and they put us on tour, which we're starting in 2 days next week. Next Friday or next week.
I mean, that was pretty instrumental. Once we hooked up with a very, very good promotion agency, we could get the
Was it
regular
like a
shows.
different level? Sort of thing?
At first we were doing it because we piqued the interest, and we were kind of interested in just doing it for the music's sake.
Yeah.
But then getting in contact with a proper promotional agency raised the game, and so we regularly tour now.
Yeah, we do an annual. We do a tour. This year it's supporting the Soho Dream. So
cool.
The very best of Secret Affair, which is on the BBC record label Demon Music, that came out last year. So we're promoting that, and then next year is inevitably going to be the 45th anniversary of our first album, Glory Boys, and of course the creation of the band and the Mortimer Day thing. So next year we'll be going out celebrating our very beginnings, and there'll be another big tour.
Great. And of course you was
Fingers
part of
crossed
that.
we make it to a 50th anniversary.
Well, jeez.
Because that's the big one, isn't it? If we can just keep standing for another.
So you was part of that great mod revival scene, wasn't you? Along with the Jam and bands like
Well,
that.
the Jam didn't really start the mod revival. They were a punk band. We were the forerunners of the.
Along with the Lambretters.
And the Lambretters, yeah, and
The Jam.
the Calls and the Purple Hearts.
The Jam.
Millions Like Us, Purple Hearts,
Yeah.
The Jam were already a successful band,
Yeah.
and our previous band, New Hearts, we supported them on one of their tours.
Yeah.
So they were very, they had very much a very punk new wave audience, and I went to see them at a pub in Hammersmith in 77 or something.
Yeah.
And they had punks spitting out the pogoing, and they transitioned into and maybe a lot of moddy type people turning up. So when the mod revival thing kind of started to get all that publicity for us in a good or bad way, they were already a very big band.
Yeah, they were up to their third album.
So they weren't anything to do with them.
No.
That's interesting.
But you could see that they lost this punk following, and it was very, very mod culture based. But Weller just, you know, he didn't have anything to do. He didn't want. He didn't need to.
No, he
didn't need to.
He was very neutral, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So,
Were they kind of riding on the wings of then, sort of the era?
They know.
no, I think they were big.
I think they were genuinely. Sorry. They were genuinely doing so well at the time.
Yes,
That
great band.
and you know, fantastic band. You can't choose your audience.
No.
Right. So if they saw the audience going from punk and that all died down, and they had a very more influenced audience, well, you know, they were mainstream. We went mainstream in as much as you're on Top of the Pops and the old Grey Whistle Test.
Yeah.
With that's when not everybody that had a hit album ever got invited to perform on it. So you couldn't go buy yourself into it.
Yeah.
So we were thrilled. I grew up with it. We were thrilled to be on it, and that really sets a sort of marker for you just not being pigeon-toed all the time about what is this band.
It is difficult for anyone, you know, media-wise, journalistically, to not ask the kinds of questions that you're asking, but it really is only, you know, a tiny part of the story. You know, particularly, I mean, it's slightly irksome to be asked that question now. Then it's fine because that was, you know, newsworthy, but that's only a part of, you know, we're musicians primarily.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
we
what we
were.
saw tonight.
Yeah.
It's great the way you added brass into your act as well. I thought that was really
Yeah,
good.
we've always had a saxophone.
Yeah.
And I used to play trumpet. So that, well, I mean, there's a soul-y aspect of the band as well. So the brass section is nice when you're trying to do something soulful. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say that I've been saying this in recent interviews that we just set out to try and be appreciated for what we did. A lot of bands fall by the wayside, so we really appreciate where we got to, but we never expected to be part of a revival of anything, just to be a great successful band, because the word revival suggests that you're copying something and you're going back to something. It's not particularly a positive thing. I would never have said, well, I keep saying this with Ian, is when we sat down, you know, in my mum's garage, you know, in Essex, and said, right, new hearts, everything that could go wrong went wrong, right, let's start again. And we wrote the first album, Glory Boys. I didn't look at it and say, wouldn't it be great if we could be part of a revival?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, of course you wouldn't.
No.
So, but you can't tell the press, you can't tell them how they're going to
Interpret it.
Yes, yes.
or your audience. And I've said this many times, Gary Bushell, who put us on the front page of Sounds, which is a big paper at the time, music paper, under interrogation, he admits that he called it a mod renewal.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And he said, yeah, I did say that, and he put us on the front cover, which is great for us. But he said, I had nothing to do with somebody else called it a mod revival. And then it all turned into this mod revival thing, which had a lot of negative connotations
Yes, it did.
about
It
it.
did.
And then when Scar took off, you know, with
Two-Tone.
Yeah. It was obvious that they were easy to market because effectively you hear the beat like a reggae band, you know what it is. With mod, you couldn't. The so-called bands, we were so different.
Yeah.
Us and the Chords, and so it wasn't. You couldn't kind of say it's a movement. And so, really, what happened was we got swept away with all of the ska bands, which you could say, they all say themselves, they were a ska revival.
Yeah.
But the press decided not to call it.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't
And
it? 'Cause they called it two-tone, didn't they?
And the
They didn't
head,
say-
you know, the leading band of the ska revival is Madness. No one wanted to do it. It's a marketing thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
So we ended up going, well, hang on, you're reviving some of your copyists. But then I've listened to Suggs on the radio actually, and we used to do double headliners with Madness back in the day, and he's the first to say, well, we were reviving people like Prince Buster and the song Madness.
Yeah.
And he said, well, of course we would bring something back. So he'd be the first to say,
Yeah.
we were doing something that we loved, and we brought that music back. Which
Well, yeah, they took it from the originators, didn't they?
Yeah.
The classic ska singers.
So it's kind of funny that all the ska stuff, and Madness, and then
It wasn't called a
it
revival.
was never called Revival or the Ska Renewal.
Yeah.
And they
It's funny, isn't it?
they kind of
It's
got away with
strange.
it.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
strange.
just got stuck in a sort of pigeonholed little box. And then the credibility behind us and others goes. And then it's very
And
difficult.
everybody was very credibility obsessed during that period because of punk, I think. You know, is it real? Do they really mean it? You know.
Yeah. So we sort of we just carried on. You can't, when you release an album, and in all honesty, that we're proud of, we're so pleased that people come and see us, and we end up selling out the Rainbow Theatre, where I saw David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust, Hammer Safodian. But you can't really do anything about A, who's following you, or B, what the press are going to call
What
you.
people say. Yeah.
You just can't do anything.
No.
But you've sold the venue out.
Yeah.
So you think, well, all right. And
You're not doing too bad, no.
I ended up never. I'd do that show, and I would never, of course, long before the internet, I would never buy a music paper again. I would never buy NME or Melody Maker or Sales. I didn't want to read what they had to say to take me down a peg or two, having sold out and had a great show. So I kind of just didn't react to it anymore.
Yeah.
I just
kind
hid
of
away.
remove it from your life. Don't you?
Remove it, just think, well,
Well, they build you up and knock you down, don't they?
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
It's a particularly British trait, I've
Well,
always thought.
at the time, imagine you get to the point where you're selling out the Rainbow Theatre in Finsbury Park, and where I'd seen Ziggy Stardust, and previously there was Floyd, The Who, it's a classic venue, and we sold it out. And the reason we sold it out, well, I know we sold it out because I had the first radio pack for wireless guitar, the early ones, and it was given to me by the sound engineer. He went, you put this in your back pocket, you put a lead into your guitar, and all these radio antennas up in the hall, you can go anywhere you want and play guitar. Really? That's amazing. It was the early days. They were analog, they were not these days digital. Anybody can play it.
And
But
what's the biggest difference from back then to today, would you say?
Well, let me just finish this little story.
Go on then.
A certain couple of journalists came to our Rainbow show to destroy, for any meat they were writing, and they turned up to do a hatchet job on Ian, not me, to destroy Ian about who they thought he was, which was some sort of right-wing, rabble-rousing, presumably Tory, he's everything.
Yeah, they all thought I was. They couldn't be more wrong.
And-
They all
and-
thought I was right wing because of the suits, I think. Right wing people wear suits and left wing people
They
wear
did that with
motorcycles.
Madness as well, though, didn't they? Because they said they were Nazis because they had
That's
skinheads.
right.
But,
Yeah.
at the time.
Ian can tell you probably today that your Labour card
I'm a card-holding member of the Labour Party.
So the last thing he is a right-wing fascist encouraging mods to attack people. It was just so. Anyway, there were two Germans, very well-known Germans, that came down to not listen to musicality, how well I could play the guitar, God forbid, or anything about it. They came down to have a rant.
Agenda.
They had a rant about Ian, and one of them, who I will never name, 2 weeks later or a week later than me, he claimed that the band are going down because the circle was closed because there weren't enough people there. And I only found this out about 5 years ago. I read it, went, what? And we sold the place out. And when the guy gave me the guitar pack, being incredibly out of control, egotistical kind of Pete Townsend thinking I've got to do too much, I ran up on a drum break I ran up with a security guy up the emergency stairs, and I burst into the circle and played guitar to people who thought, how could he play guitar but he's not there, for fun. And I played literally where I watched David Bowie. Right? And I know that fucking circle was sold out, and then 2 weeks later he's saying, oh, the circle closed. And that's malicious and kind of very childish, and that kind of thing went on where they're trying to.
But well, don't worry, lads. I won't give you any bad press tonight. I
I'll
thought
tell
you were fantastic. I thought it was really good.
But 6 months later, we sold out Hammersmith Odeon, which is 600 more seats. So they didn't get anywhere with it. They also then said, these two guys, I was lucky to get out of the Rainbow alive because Ian had encouraged mods to attack the skinheads. Turned up to beat the mods up. No self-respecting skinhead would buy a ticket at the secret affair at the Rainbow. They were outside to ambush us in the same way that Madness had problems with skinheads at the time. So it's twisted around.
Hello.
You're right.
Sorry, you're doing an interview.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
we won't for too long.
Anyway, that's just an example of what went on in the day.
Oh, that's
in the
interesting.
day.
Yeah. So back to My World. It's a song I think it will always live on. What was the process like of making that song, and why do you think people still love it today?
Well, it's a song that Dave had been writing for quite a long time, as I recall. I mean, the interesting thing about it was just, the minute I heard it, it was a good pop record.
Anthem.
Yeah, it had anthemic qualities. But it was our first foray into expanding the sound of the band and incorporating a string orchestra. And I got the opportunity to write a score for it, and we used the string section from the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and that was a pleasing experience for me because it was a musical experience, and I remember holding the score and going into the recording studio, and these rather sniffy session musicians, all the rest of it, and at one point the leader went to did a run through, and he turned around and said, "This is really quite musical, isn't it?" I mean, you can't get more patronising.
No.
But on the other hand, it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, the thing about it was that we'd recorded it many times. At one point, without a saxophone solo, and with actually me playing a jingly guitar.
Yes, yeah, I remember.
So,
it was at CBS Studios.
It was Ian that said to me, when we suddenly had a big budget available, Ian said, well, I think we ought to have some orchestration on it. And I knew Ian's classical background, I thought, and he said, well, let's have a 16-piece orchestra.
16 piece.
And he said, I'll write the score. And I thought, can he? So at the time I just went, okay. And I turned up at this wonderful studio we were recording the album, and I just sat there and thought, is this really going to happen? And they were all, in a semicircle, and Ian started handing out the score, and I thought, he's really done it. And then when they played it, I went, oh God, you know, I realised Ian had a very special talent, and that's what's on the record.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those organic relationship things where it came together, and having the orchestra on it just enhances
Elevated it, I guess.
the feeling of it as an anthem written by a young person.
Yeah.
Setting out in life.
Yes.
You know, with ambition.
You can imagine it being like used in a rock opera, I think. It's that kind of sort of...
What's the movie it's used? There's a movie.
Oh, it's on the...
there's a movie where they used it.
Yeah, it was on this soundtrack to... oh, God.
What's it called?
I have to think about it.
It's a short film, isn't it?
No, it's a proper film.
Oh, it's a full-length
I
film.
went to the cinema to see it.
Oh, I can't remember what it's called now.
Pebble and a Boy.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it opens with My Lord.
And it works really, you know, cinematic
With the screamers and I imagine.
it works really well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great,
Suits the medium,
it's a
yeah.
fantastic song. Ken Bruce played it a lot as well on radio.
Did he?
Yeah. You know, yes, but
Bless him.
oh, he
He's
used to
been
play it a lot.
cancelled, hasn't he?
Hey?
He's been cancelled.
Who hasn't been cancelled?
Well, who next?
Yeah.
We're not booking you anymore. But over the years, we've had people come up to the merchandise stand and they've written two lines of the song.
Yeah.
That's actually as a tattoo.
As a tattoo.
And you go, oh,
Yeah.
I just think, oh God, they've tattooed themselves. and then certain people have said I was going to commit suicide, and I was on top of a cliff top with my car, and one last time I put my oil on, and I decided not to do it, and that chokes me up. I think, oh God.
Yeah.
That it means that much to somebody. That's nice.
You feel it when we play it live. That for a lot of people, you know, when it's not just a sing along, is it? It's actually
There's
a mark
some
in their
sort of
life.
meaning behind
Yeah.
the song.
Yeah, and you feel that when you're performing it. You know.
Well, a similar song is One Day in Your Life, which should have been a big hit for us, but the label kind of got bored with us or whatever it was. That should have been a big hit for us, but I think, and it's great for people to sing along like that, it means that much to them. I think actually it's become even more popular after the COVID years because of
what a good point.
because of what we were put through, everyone was put through.
Yeah.
That maybe it's got an anthem to say, well, what was all that about?
Yeah.
We got through it.
It's a very good point.
And I think it means more to people who were shut up in their homes for a year or more.
It was terrible, wasn't it? Let's hope we never go back to those days. Fingers crossed. Anyway, another great song of yours is called "Time for Action."
That was the first single. Well, it does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? It's a positive, motivating call to react. In part, it in my mind when I'm singing it, its main importance is that it stresses positivity. In contrast to the many records that had been successful before it, from the punk era, which were all about hating things and everything being horrible and, you know, a depressing negativity, whereas Time for Action is completely the opposite.
And
Very positive.
And the thing about that is that, again, we were very young. I was probably 19 and you were 18. And it's all about being part of a very exciting feeling of this mod culture. Mod culture to me never went away. When Mods and Rockers was front page news on the Daily Mirror and Sun, which was manufactured by the tabloids, when it came off the front covers and the front page, mod culture never went away.
No.
So as you're bubbling along like this, when we were doing what we were doing, we were writing these songs and releasing that music at least 6 months or 9 months before Quadrophenia the film
Easily.
came out. And no one knew anything about it. There's no internet knows it. And so I wasn't bothered to even watch it. I loved the album. And so we
Same here.
already had a big following long before Quadrophenia came out. And again, as over the years people would say, Quadrophenia came out and all these plastic mods came about, and that's when Skamouth jumped on the bandwagon. No, we were at the start of 1979, we were supporting The Cure, and
Well, it was written in 1978.
I only wrote it the year before in CBS Studios. We were way ahead of Quadrophenia ever coming out.
Yeah.
So when it did come out, of course, we already had a huge backing following, and then it escalated it up. But we came first, not the Quadrophenia film, in terms of when people talk about what's coming back. We were in there.
Time for Action had already been released and
Yeah.
it had already charted, hadn't it?
Before
Yeah.
Quadrophenia.
Yeah.
Now we know. Well, thanks a lot for joining us on the show, guys. It's been
All
great
right.
to talk to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Have a picture. Well,
Okay.
it's on the video.
A
but
pose.
There we go.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thanks
See
a
ya.
lot. Thanks for that.